Hey, good morning, VRL KidMin leaders. This morning, I want to talk to you about a simple truth of what we do as leaders of children in a church children's ministry, and that is that everyone wants to be known. That doesn't mean that everyone wants to be famous. Not everyone clamors for celebrity, but everyone wants to be known. And we see this in our society with things like social media, that because of Facebook, I can always let you know how I'm feeling. Because of Instagram, I can always show you what I'm doing. Because of Twitter, I can live tweet a talent show that I'm at and let you know if that was a good act or a bad act. You have no idea what I'm talking about because you're not at that talent show, but you at least know how I feel about it. And that's a big deal to me as a person. And that's how our society is operating these days. And there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, there can be something wrong with that, but inherently there's nothing wrong with that. But our kids are growing up wanting to be known with endless self-expression. And so one of the things that we need to be very aware of is that these kids are craving to be known. And we have to meet that need, or else they're going to go somewhere else where they can be known by somebody else. And so there's two sides to this coin for us. And the first is that for us as leaders working with children, we need to be aware, hey, I need to know the kids in my small group. So when a kid comes into the classroom, when a boy or a girl walks in for the first time, someone needs to be there ready to greet them, meeting them, talking to their parents, going, hey, we're so glad you're here. Come on in, let's get started. We're going to go and play some games, do some worship, have a story, and then we're going to do some games and activities in our small group. Once you get to your small group, you need to know the names of the kids in your small group. That's the first step. If you don't know their name, then you don't know them. And so I know you have a lot of fluctuation because people aren't the most consistent. But if you have 10 kids in your small group, you should know the names of 10 kids in your small group. And that's just the start. So our goal is to have 8 kids in a small group. And now some of you go, we have almost double that. I understand that. That's why it's a goal and that's what we're working towards. But we want to know, so if you have 8 kids in your small group, that way you can easily do a couple of things. Number one is you can easily know all their names. The second thing is that you can easily know who their parents are. You don't have to know their parents super well, but be able to pick them out of a lineup. And then that way, when their son or daughter says something in your small group after church, you can stop by when parents come and pick up little Billy, and you can go, hey, we had this conversation. Here's what Billy said. It was really cool. He encouraged this kid in our group, or he asked these questions. And if you could just be talking to him at home, he's wondering about this or that. That helps the discipleship portion of what we do immensely, because we don't just want to know kids for their own egos. We want to know kids so that way we can know where they're at spiritually, so that we can help them spiritually. And a big part of that comes with knowing them and knowing their parents. And so if you know if you know their name, you know their parents, and then you know what activities do they like to do and what kind of candy do they like, that helps you then to connect with them. And you can ask them, man, I know you had a soccer game last week. How did soccer go? Or you can even go to their soccer game, because if you have 8 kids in your small group, you can manage to go, man, if once a month I make a plan to go and see one of these kids play soccer on the weekend, you can hit your whole small group in a year. But if you have 16 kids, that just gets harder, and then you got to keep track of more schedules. So the first thing is this: kids want to be known, but we have too many kids in some of our small groups. And so you go, well, what's the solution here? And it's the other side of this, so we need more grown-ups who want to know kids for the sake of knowing where kids are at, so that we can help them in their discipleship process of following Jesus. And so here's the craziest part though. Grown-ups and adults want to be known. And so the biggest thing we can do to have someone else come and join us in children's ministry for the sake of knowing these kids is to say, hey, I know that you would do a great job. Now, there's one more piece to this, because you can tell someone you know they do a great job, but if they don't have a job to do, they're going to go, well, why am I here? Why am I wasting my time? I'm a busy person. So they need to know the need of what we're doing. And that's like a dirty word in volunteer recruiting of any organization. You go, don't tell them you need them, call them to the passion of what you're doing. You go, well, that is the passion of what we're doing, because we don't need a new volunteer for the sake of having a new volunteer. We need a new volunteer because someone needs to be there for these kids intentionally. These 8 kids here need one person who says, I just want to come in, I want to care about you, I want to get to know you, I want to talk to your parents about you, I want to make this all about you, because I want to help you take that step from you being all about you to you being all about Christ. And so one of the things I want to do is, if you bring someone into our classroom and they see what's going on and they see how small groups work, they will see the need for them to be a part of what we're doing. They're going to go, man, there's a lot of kids here. And you're going to go, I know. And I try to keep in touch with all of them. And it's just really, really difficult. Man, we would love to have some people who just love people, who love kids, who want to see kids grow in Christ, to come and serve with us next weekend, to serve with us every weekend, to serve with us every other weekend, depending on what their schedule allows. That is why we do what we do, because we want to help take kids from where they are to the next step, to the next step, to the next step. And we can't do that if we don't know them, because if you don't know them and you don't notice when they're gone, then they're not going to come back. And so that's the big thing, is that we want to get to a place with our kids where we know our kids, where we know their parents. We can text mom and dad and go, hey, we missed so-and-so at church. And mom's going to go, you noticed that my kid was gone? You have a church with, you have 200 kids. How'd you notice that my one kid was gone? That goes a long way. It's the same thing with adults. When, if VRL, if you want it to be a fast food church where you just slip in and slip out on a Sunday, that's a great church for you, because you can do that, because we're big enough that you can do that. But if you really want to get connected, you can join a small group, you can serve, you can come to multiple events that we have at our church. If you want to be super involved, it can be a really small church. It's as big or as small as you want it to be. Children's ministry, kids don't have that option. We have to make it a small relational environment for them. So that's this week's video, is just to say kids want to be known. So let's be intentional to be asking kids questions, getting to know them, but also let's be intentional to be asking other adults to come in and help us know kids, because it can't all be on your shoulders, because you don't have the relational quotient to have 16 to 20 kids in a small group and to actually know them all well. So thanks for checking this out. I'll have a new video next week. We're going to have a guest lecturer, and so that's going to be super exciting. So I will see you the next time that I see you. Thanks, everyone.